So I did a video a couple of weeks ago that was called Class Action Lawsuit, and it was a video I did where I talked about an article that I found that DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub had a class action lawsuit against them from the restaurants that they were servicing because they were taking advantage of the restaurants in the pricing that they were requiring the restaurants to do when they use the platforms to deliver their food. And in that video, I speculated that the platforms were not profitable. I speculated that I had heard from other gig tubers and kind of the buzz around YouTube is the fact that the platforms are not profitable. So I decided to do a little bit of research on it, and I want to talk to you about what I came up today as far as finding out if these platforms are profitable or not. My name is John McFall, and I want to welcome you to the McFallRI channel, where I teach you how to make $25 to $30 an hour doing food delivery, and I also teach you how to make online income. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the fact that these restaurants are profitable. A lot of people think that DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub is not profitable, and I don't know where this speculation started, and I don't know who started saying it first, but I want to tell you that these platforms, although you may have heard that they are not profitable, these companies are actually making a profit. I'm going to put a link to an article that I found that talks about just that, and I want to go over some of the things that I found in that article today. The one thing I do want to say is I did not really see in this article any information on Grubhub, and the reason that is because Grubhub was bought last year for $7.6 billion. A company called Just Takeaway out of England bought Grubhub, so the article didn't include any of the financial information on Grubhub. So I'm going to talk to you today about DoorDash and Uber Eats and kind of want to go over where they are with things and where they are in their profitability, because I think that you might be a little bit surprised by the information that I found. The first thing that you might be surprised about is everybody thinks that DoorDash is the biggest platform out there, and this is not the case when it comes to actual revenue that is generated in the number of restaurants that the platform is in. And if you take a look at this slide here, it talks about how many restaurants each of the platform is in. And according to the article, DoorDash is in about 350,000 restaurants currently, and this is as of 2020. They are in 350,000 restaurants. Uber, on the other hand, is in about 750,000 restaurants. And I know that a lot of people think that DoorDash is the biggest, and it might be the case that DoorDash has the most orders. However, Uber Eats is actually the company that is in the most restaurants. And I'm going to speculate that the reason this is because one thing that Uber Eats does that's different than DoorDash is Uber Eats will actually offer order and pay orders for restaurants that their platform isn't in the restaurant. They will give drivers orders for restaurants, and you can call that order in, and then you go in and pay with your Uber Eats credit card so that they can get the orders to the customers. I've run into this myself where restaurants have told me that they don't want me to come in there and get orders for the platforms. I had a restaurant a couple of weeks ago in Auburn that I had an order and pay from Uber Eats, and when I got into the restaurant, the people actually got kind of rude and indignant with me and said, "We don't want these platforms in here." And I basically told them it's not my choice. I just get a request on the phone, and that's how the orders come to me. But Uber Eats will send you into restaurants, whether they have an actual tablet in there to place orders on, and they will send you to restaurants that accept order and pay, and you call that order in for the platform to go pick up the order for the customer. So this is probably a big reason why Uber Eats can say that they are in a lot more restaurants than DoorDash, because DoorDash typically tries to go into restaurants and put their platform on a tablet in that restaurant rather than having you do order and pays. And Uber Eats is different. If a customer wants a order from a restaurant that the platform's not in on, they don't hesitate to go in there and have the drivers order the food and go pick it up and pay for it on the Uber card. So I'm speculating, but I think this is the reason why Uber Eats can say that they are in a lot more restaurants than DoorDash. The next slide I want to throw up here is the actual profitability on the platforms, and this is for the year 2021. If you take a look at it, it looks like Uber is not doing a very good job, and they are not very profitable at the beginning of the year. And the reason this is actually because they have been working on acquiring other platforms. In 2021, they bought out Postmates, and Postmates became part of Uber Eats. So this is the reason why Uber Eats is showing a negative profit for the beginning of 2021. And if you look down the line, you will see that by the end of the year, they actually started to become profitable again. DoorDash, on the other hand, if you look at this slide, you'll see that DoorDash has been profitable the whole year of 2021. And you got to remember, this is the time when the platforms started losing a little bit of momentum because restaurants started opening up again and people were able to go out to the restaurants again, and the platforms were still really profitable after the restaurants started opening up. So whoever says that the platforms are not profitable, they don't know what they're talking about, because the numbers here show something completely different. So I've said in some other videos that to me that the platforms kind of are arranged like this. To me, DoorDash is kind of the Dollar General or the Dollar Tree of the bunch. Uber Eats and Grubhub, they kind of fall in the Walmart / Target / Meijer. If you take a look at different retailers, that this is kind of how I look at them. And if you look at this next slide, that it talks about the actual revenue that's generated from the companies, you will see that actually Uber Eats is stomping DoorDash when it comes to revenue. And the reason this is because DoorDash wants to be the cheapest service out there, and that's kind of how they have come into this niche and how they have set up their business. They want to be the cheapest one for the customers, and at the same time, as you know, as a driver, when you go out there, you get so many orders that are just crap. This is part of the reason why DoorDash wants to be the least expensive for the customers, so they send the most crap orders to the drivers for this reason. So although DoorDash, again, if you take a look at everybody and what they say here on YouTube, a lot of people think that DoorDash is the biggest one and the king. And this is just not the case when it comes to revenue. Uber Eats is a much more revenue generating platform than DoorDash is currently. The last slide I want to show you here is the revenue growth over 2021. And as you can see here again, Uber Eats is way ahead of DoorDash when it comes to revenue. The growth path of both companies were very similar in 2021, and this is probably primarily due at the end of the year when they both went up a lot, was probably due to the fact that they acquired other companies. And the revenue is continuing to grow, even though the companies had to deal with the fact that in 2021 the restaurants opened up and started letting people come in. The revenue kept going up for the platforms. So my point in today's video is to tell you that these platforms are actually generating a profit for their investors, and they are actually making a lot of money. When it comes to the profitability of the platforms, they are actually making a profit, and a lot of people think that they are not. I hope you got a lot out of today's video and you learned a little bit about the profitability of the companies, because a lot of people think that they are not profitable. I want to remind you, head down into my description. I have some some great tools for you guys. The one I want to talk about is my metric spreadsheet. If you are just starting or you've been doing food delivery for a while and you want to see where you need to improve, the only way that you can do that is by keeping track of your numbers. This metric spreadsheet will allow you to keep track of those numbers so you can improve them. And I'm going to throw it up here on the screen so you guys can check it out. If you look at the left-hand side, you'll see I always put my start time and my end time. This gives me the total time that I worked. And then if you look to the right, you'll see that for each individual app, I put the dollars that I've made, the time that I worked, along with the number of deliveries. Head to the bottom and you'll see it calculates out what your average dollar per hour, dollar per mile, along with your average per delivery. To get better at doing food delivery, the only way that you can is to know where you currently are. So go down into my description, go grab that metric spreadsheet if you're not keeping track for yourself. Also want to remind you, I also have some other great tools like the Beans app and SimplyWise and QuickBooks Self-Employed. These are tools that I use on a daily and a weekly basis when I'm out here doing food delivery. Finally, I'd like to ask you to like this video and to subscribe to my channel. I want to leave you with, I hope that you are out there getting the money that you and your family deserve. And with that, I want to say thanks.